never quite know where to look on this camera, so excuse me if I'm kind of looking off camera when I'm speaking to you, but I'm never really sure. I think it's somewhere there on the iPhone. Gorgeous day. It's winter time, but it's nice and mild, and it's like that feeling of spring already. It's funny to think that there are a few more months to go until we arrive in a new season. I'm in post-yoga glow, so this is a really nice feeling for me. However I've been in my head and my heart, it always rebalances and sets a feeling of retuning the energy systems. And my students, blooming awesome, I love them. So, let's arrive before we start this transmission. So as you maybe just take a moment to sit wherever you happen to be, or move to a seated position, or just even standing. As you close your eyes and the body becomes still, there's an opportunity to just let the hurricane of life continue around you with all the noises, the whole world going about its business. Where you just notice what is happening in the body with the breath. Maybe feeling a sense of both feet grounded on the floor, wherever you happen to be. A sense of tuning in via the breath. And offering your mind to get into the elevator. And as you exhale and inhale, taking the mind down into the body and connecting with this precious gift, this precious creation that we have been given. Human body, in all of its complications and all of its craziness and all of its beauty and all of its love and all of the awe-inspiring physiology. Just breathing in and out. So, welcome to this next transmission of Yang Woman. We are live on Gina Hardy Yoga page, and don't forget that these videos are being uploaded to YouTube every couple of days. And we're on day 24 out of the 30-day vlog looking at Yang Woman. So if you're not quite sure who she is, you can go to my website, because there's a general profile of women who, for me, the archetype for us girls from history has been the hunter-gatherer, the nurturer nest builders, but we have become the hunter-gatherers as well. And although it's not wrong, because I think it's a response to society, I think that there are areas of our lives where we are out of kilter, out of whack, out of balance, and just maybe that the essence of the feminine in our bodies is compromised by the yang energy. I know that looking back and actually doing these videos has reminded me about where, being overly yang, I have given my body a much harder time. I'm completely positive about that. So we've talked about the challenges, we've talked about the desires, and then we talked a little bit about what you can do to let the yin in. And, you know, a lot of it is about stopping. Space is very yin, stillness is very yin. And even if you're not really a meditator, it's just being quiet, not having any distractions, not putting down the books, putting down the mobile phone, turning off the laptop, turning off the television, and literally having a technology-free space. Really, it's about creating space in your mind so that your body can take a breather and catch up. So we talked about how to let the yin in. On day 23, I talked about the beginnings of what is it like to become authentically feminine. And for me, I think that I'm only just relearning, so I wouldn't class myself as an expert about how to do this, but I am noticing the changes in my menopause as I start to become more yin by default. It's beautifully happening to me rather than something I've made a conscious decision to actually do. So notice, ladies, if you are going into menopause, and particularly perimenopause, which I believe is quite a confusing place to be. It's sometimes fraught, and I think that my yang energy really cascaded and car crashed into my yin energy, and actually the two sides didn't really know who each other were, and it was really hard work for me to let go of the yin. Very interesting place to be. So day 23 we talked about how to celebrate your body, and do you celebrate your body by having photographs taken, wearing amazing clothes, anything to celebrate your curves, but actually to be with your body, and that might involve doing yoga, something to just be present to this physical structure and not beat up on yourself. Today I wanted to talk about creativity, because creativity really is one of the essential elements of being authentically feminine. So creativity, from us we create life. The ultimate creativity is from the womb. The egg's fertilized and we bring life into this world, and we indeed birth many other things, friendships, projects, and I think we birth love from our creative vessel. That's how I really feel. But what I noticed is when I was in the corporate world, and before I went into the corporate world, in my late teens, my early and late teens, I was a very creative person, and I used to make things. I used to make dolls' clothes, I used to make my own clothes, I used to paint and draw and do all those things. In fact, I got top grade in my art at school when I was 16. And I come from a line of creative women. My grandmother was very creative. My mother pretty much doesn't have a day of her life where she isn't creative. For example, the other day she said to me, gosh, she said, I've been feeling really rough this week and it shut down my creativity. And she said, it's like I can't breathe when I'm not being creative, which I thought was really, really fascinating. So she sat there with her cardigan and she got out her crochet hook and some wool, and she started to crochet a couple of pockets to go on her cardigan, just like that. And she makes things for me still, and she taught me how to, you know, do all the things like darn socks and do all those things that just feel like nurture and nest builder type of qualities. And not saying that I was ever indoctrinated to play that role for a man by any means, but creativity is a very important thing in my mother's world. So, and she's a much older generation, and so that tended to be, with all the space they had, they could be creative. So from the age of about 18 I went into the corporate world, and I noticed that really until the last 2 years I have had my creative channel pretty much closed. I don't believe going to the gym is creative. Routine is not creative. Doing the do Monday to Friday is not creative. It is just the structure that we live within. And often between those times we think, when we have time off, oh, I'll just go on social media, oh, I'll just read a book, oh, I'll just do something to fill my head with something else. Nothing that is creative. But I think you really release a lot of tension, particularly intrinsic tight tension within the psyche when you do something creative, and particularly for us women, because the natural essence for us is creativity. That is what we're born to do. Men are not really potentially massively creative beings. It comes from us women. So think about what it is that you do in your day. If you have your own business, if you go to work, if you have a routine with your children, if you're single, if you're married, what is it that you do that is creative? Like making something, designing something, drawing something, even baking, something creative with food, perhaps, something that you do that inspires the juices. Because what I notice is with menopause it can become very samey. You get shut down in quite a few areas, and I've noticed that this year, as part of being post-menopause, being more yin, having lots more time, that suddenly this little trickle of a creative idea in my mind is coming to the surface. So I created some meditation stations, some little meditation altars that you can sit next to, and I just decided to go and do it. Went to Hobbycraft, got a load of bits, and then sat down. And actually for a while it was quite tricky, because I just sat with all of these bits and pieces on my table and thought, now what do I do? And it was really interesting. I just felt like a rusty old engine starting up, but actually that was very relaxing. It changed my mood, it gave me another angle, and I think that Yang women are very angular. We run our lives, we direct, we do, but when you're creative, it's a certain receptivity. You allow the creativity and the creative energy to come to you so that you can express it through you, which I think is so juicy and so alive and so amazing. So yeah, creativity in me was shut down for very, very many years, and along with a career in the construction industry surrounded by men, I was yanging it up all over the place. I was an absolute yangy from head to foot, and creativity was not part of that at all, because I just did my life, got on with my life, had a great life with friends, etc. But what was I doing that was creative? Zilch, to be honest. So just think about what it is you do. Think about, in your spare time, do you just lay on your bed and do nothing, or is there a potential for you to go, you know what, I'm really interested in that, or I always have been interested in that and I have never really done it. Go and do something that feels creative. Nothing that, by the way, for me is intellect, because if you go, okay, well, I've always wanted to learn Greek, which I have, by the way, that's, to me, is not being creative. Yes, it's learning another language, but it is cerebral. Creativity isn't cerebral. It comes from within. In fact, from a chakra perspective, it's the Svadhisthana chakra, which is the sacral energy from whence we connect to the world through our creativity, which is in our belly area. For a woman, this is our authentic feminine essence, our womb, our ovaries. All of this juicy sexuality, sensuality, creativity comes from the same place. So, think about it. Maybe in order to soften the yang, allow yourself to sit and meditate on what it is that creativity might mean to you. Really just to open the flow, and actually to bring much more vibrant health, and to think that you are here to create. What is it that you create in the world? If you run your own business, you might just be a creative first and foremost, because running your own business, you do have to be creative. You have to come up with ideas, you have to follow through, and yeah. So on that note, I'm back to the to-do list. But I feel like I've done something creative today, because I've been inspiring my students, which does feel creative to me when I'm in a yoga space, which is a really lovely thing. So, look forward to speaking to you next time. I honour you, I salute you, and I love you, Yang woman. Have a great rest of the day. Namaste.